Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow. Financial freedom's where we go. Smart investments, money flow.
Hey, babe, what are we talking about today?
Today, we are talking about our latest Netflix binge, America's Sweethearts, about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. And before you say that you did not binge it, you did.
I didn't watch all of it, but I watched most of it with her.
Didn't you?
I didn't watch every episode because you just wanted to keep going, and I was like, I'm not in the mood. I'm not interested, and I think I missed a couple episodes.
I don't know about all that, but it was our latest watching together. And I don't really know how we ended up getting sucked in because, we saw a lot about this on social media. And I was like, oh, let's just watch
I know
the
exactly how you
first
got sucked in. It was
episode.
your idea. I had never even heard of it.
I wanted to watch the first episode. And then after the first episode, you have to just keep going. And it's a limited series. It was 7 episodes, I think. Not a big deal. And, at the end of a long day, it is nice to just decompress. But what we were seeing on social media, or apparently in my algorithm and not his,
I didn't see anything on social media.
was that after the show aired, people were outraged at the fact that the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, the DCC, are such a staple to that franchise and to the team and what they are known for. Now, I'm not a football person. If you've listened to any episode, you know that I could not care less. I don't have a favorite team. It's just not for me. However, people were outraged to find out that the DCC work pretty much nonstop around the clock. They're constantly training. They are a staple of the franchise and they're essentially getting paid minimum wage. And then there was information coming out that the water boy for the Dallas Cowboys NFL team actually makes more than a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. And so, with all of that information, I just needed to dig in a little bit.
I'm gonna interject for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
A water boy probably does a lot of other things than just get them water.
Like what?
It's probably a team manager.
So you're saying probably because you don't know.
No, because like at this level, there's not just one person dedicated to getting these guys water. They do multiple things. That's what the team manager does. Because even at the lower levels, there's not just the water boy is the team manager. He does. Then why do we
call them the water boy?
It's an old thing, but they're team managers. As someone who played sports where we had a team manager, I can tell you that it's
was
not just,
Adam Sandler in that movie.
It's a movie.
Was he the team manager? Because I think he was the water boy.
Yeah, because it's a movie. If you're going to base reality off of that,
I don't know. If it's a team manager, then I would expect that person to make more.
Someone who has played organized sports at certain levels, there is not somebody who only is dedicated to doing the water. They do other things like make sure that the uniforms are laid out, make sure they're clean, all those other things. Those are the same. Normally the tasks fall under the same person.
Well, then I would be upset that most people refer to me as the water boy when I'm actually the team manager.
Only people that don't know anything about sports call the actual person a water boy. I would call him a team manager.
If they're actually the team manager. But wouldn't you think that the team manager would make more than the supposed $60,000, which is kind of what was going around the internet?
Well, there's more than one team manager. Like there's multiple people that do these things. Like if you think about it, for example, for a football team, how many people you have on an active roster? Now you have the active roster, but then you also have the practice squad. So they're in charge of those individuals as well, making sure that like everything is clean for, games, practices, all that stuff. Like it's a lot more that goes into professionals because also you have their individual like stars that need their own certain individual things. Their cleats need to be a certain way and all these other things.
Okay, well, I hope that is true because if this person is just responsible for getting them high quality H2O, then they should not be making more than the DCC who, based on this documentary, are literally working their booties off.
That's what happens when you hop on social media and listen to people who don't watch football.
I feel like everybody in the United States watches football.
No, I think there are a good number of people that watch football. And I think there are a good number of people whose partners watch football and they're in the room while football's on. There's a difference.
I was really kind of blown away by the fact that and again, coming in with like no knowledge of NFL cheerleaders, the NFL franchising, like in general, all of that, like it's just not of interest to me. So it was really interesting to see that these women who are working on being the best cheerleader that they can possibly be, they're doing this, 7 days a week essentially for hours and hours a day. But because they're not making a livable wage, they actually all have full-time jobs on top of it. I mean, some of these women are in the medical professional, they're in education, they're in sales, like they are working, 8 to 5, and then from 5:30 to midnight or later, they're on the practice field learning choreography and, really just giving back to, I mean, it's practically volunteer work at this point, because one of them was quoted saying that she makes the equivalent of a substitute teacher. And as a former educator who didn't feel like I made enough money in the classroom, I know for a fact that substitute teachers make even less. So you are now working 2+ full-time jobs if we're looking at the equivalent of also working on weekends and all the training and the late nights. And I just was blown away. And what's really interesting is that the women in the organization, they recognize it, but nobody seems offended, because apparently it's this magical place to be. And the women, it's almost like cult like in the sense of, it's like the best family they've ever experienced. And you can only do 5 years. You have to re-audition every year. So you might get cut year after year. And I just thought it was really interesting that these women are giving their blood, sweat, and tears to this organization that makes billions of dollars every year and can't even pay them more than minimum wage. It is pretty outrageous.
One, I'm just going to preface with this.
Mm.
I'm not going to stand on a soapbox for people that don't want to stand on a soapbox for themselves. So if they're okay with getting paid what they get paid, that's on them, because they're not.
I mean, what are we going to do? A DCC strike?
I mean, well, how do you think? Same thing as teachers. Teachers want to get paid more. What do they do?
They strike.
Exactly.
Yeah, but apparently the idea is like, it's such a privilege to be here. Like, if you don't want to do it, we have hundreds and thousands of other girls literally lined up.
Yeah.
Like, so we will not need to change
So therefore, it's not going to change because the people that are actually doing the job don't care to change it. So I personally don't care about that specific sector, because at the end of the day, like, if you don't want better for yourself, that's on you. Like, I can't waste my time focusing on that. I'm just going to be honest with you. Also, at the end of the day, a cheerleading is not an essential part of the football organization.
Apparently it is of this one.
Well, it's not. What I'm trying to say is that if they got rid of cheerleaders tomorrow, the NFL would still function as the NFL functions.
Would they? I wonder what percentage
you don't
of
watch
sales.
Football.
But I wonder what percentage of sales they would lose.
Nobody tunes into football to watch the cheerleaders.
What percentage of sales would they lose if they did not have a cheerleading team? Specifically this one.
0.
You think they would lose 0?
Other than like the weird dudes that buy the calendars.
That was another thing.
That's
like they are generating revenue for the company.
I'm just trying to explain to you, as a male who watches football on a regular basis and knows plenty of other males that watch football on a regular basis, I can tell you the one thing that I've never had conversations about: the cheerleaders. It doesn't come up. No one's out here. Even when I was in college, no one was buying Dallas Cowboy calendars.
Really?
No. Like,
so who's buying the calendars?
Weird old dudes.
We
literally watched the episode, and when they had the calendar and they're out there getting autographs, who was the one person that came up and got an autograph?
Some super old man.
Exactly.
They wouldn't be doing the calendar if it was just a couple of people here or there.
It probably makes money. But what I'm trying to say is that they are not an essential function of the Cowboys. It's an addition. So like they might be making a little bit of money. They're at least breaking even, because they wouldn't continue having them if they were losing money. So they're definitely making money. But how much money they're making, they didn't really go into details about that.
Well, and they're also doing the charity events and the guest appearances, and they are like pillars of their community.
They're good people. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm just simply saying that like football is not based upon the cheerleaders. So, no one is a football fan because, I want to go to a game or I want to watch a game because of the cheerleaders. That is not it. That is not the draw to football. Know why? Because if you just want to see girls in little outfits, there's plenty of other outlets to do that. Like it's just the reality. Like people tune in to watch football, mainly men, but also plenty of women to watch actual football.
So, do you not think though that they should, based on what you saw in the documentary, do you not feel like they should be paid more than they currently are, where
I'd
they're
have to
not
see.
even making a living and have to have an actual real job?
I would have to honestly see the numbers breakdown of what they bring in from a revenue standpoint, because
What
you
the
could,
corporation brings
yeah,
in?
well, yes,
What
what
the franchise
everything
brings
that
in?
no, I'm not saying the entire Dallas,
Just the cheerleaders.
just the cheerleaders. What revenue is attributed directly to them? Because that's going to always stipulate, regardless of what job you do, the pay that you get is going to be often stipulated upon the revenue that you bring in.
Okay.
Now, obviously, there's other jobs that should not be a factor, like teachers and stuff like that, because it's not an income making, profession, but it's like one of the most important professions there is.
Mm-hmm.
But cheerleading is a passion. It's a passion.
But
And I,
they're
and I,
dedicating 40 plus hours a week.
I 100% say that there's a lot of other passions where people dedicate just as much time. And what I'm saying is that they are not an essential. So like if I'm going to make an argument for equality when it comes to gender pay, I can tell you where I'm not going to start.
Cheerleaders.
100% not. I can think of
So
1,000 other jobs where I can make this argument easily and strongly and stand behind it. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't make more. That's not what I'm saying.
okay.
I'm simply stating that I need to see the numbers. And also, like I said, if they're not fighting to make more, they're not going to make more. Like,
I
why
mean,
would
at
you
this
pay?
point,
Why
they
would
might
you
as
just
well
say,
just
yeah?
volunteer.
If
but
everybody is so happy to do the job at the pay that it is now, what incentive do they have to pay them anymore? Zero.
yeah, I mean, that's
Zero.
But again, the women who want to be Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders are saying into the camera, we are not here for the money. But it's almost insulting. It's like, well, then just make it voluntary.
Well,
Like,
you're
I don't
not.
know why.
You're not doing the job.
I mean, absolutely not. That
So like
jump split alone.
I'm not going to like. They're fine with it, so I'm fine with it.
But don't we, at some point, doesn't there need to really?
No, like you're fighting for. If you have
I'm not
I was
fighting
gonna
for
say,
anything.
if
Like,
you
I'm
have
not
an
out here
entire,
picketing.
if you have an entire demographic of people who do a specific profession, and they're okay with what they get paid, and everybody else on the outside who does not do this job and has no interest in doing this job is talking about, oh, they should get paid more, they should get paid more. But everyone that actually does the job is okay with what they get paid. Why would I? Why?
I don't know. It just is so interesting to me. Like,
No, the problem that happens is anytime that it's attached to sports, the conversation gets skewed. If this was not attached to a football team and they were just a separate cheerleading squad, I think the conversation would be different. But the people think about, oh, the Dallas Cowboys make billions of dollars. They should be
right.
paid. Yeah, but not off the cheerleaders.
But the establishment
Doesn't
like if
matter.
they made
Does not matter.
$1.14 billion last year and Jerry Jones made $5.6 billion and they have, what was it,
Should he
38
just give
people
them
on the
money just
team?
because?
No, because they are like one of the faces of
No,
the
they're
franchise.
not. No, they're not. No, they're not.
Well, maybe it's because you're not a Dallas fan.
No, it's because I watch football. Like if you can't name I can't name any of the cheerleaders.
Well,
I can name plenty of starting players for the Dallas Cowboys. Also, like the thing is, like I said, I watch football, so I also take into account who the owner Jerry Jones is as a person. On the football side, where all the revenue actually comes from, he is notorious for not paying his stars. Right now, their quarterback Dak Prescott is in a contract negotiation and he's not getting what he wants. He's not getting probably what the market would call for him to get. And he's the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
so is he going to leave because they're not going to pay him?
Well, there's a possibility. So at this current time, he doesn't have a new contract. If he goes to this season, at the end of the season, he becomes a free agent. And if he has a season that he had last year or what they project him to have, this man is going to end up making like $65 million plus a year. And it's going to be probably because some other team's going to give it to him.
So
look, what I'm trying to say
he's
is
leaving when he doesn't get paid.
Yeah, so what I'm trying to say is like you're looking for this man, Jerry Jones, to pay these cheerleaders more when he is notorious for not paying his
I'm
star
not saying they
players.
need to make six figures or $500,000 a year, but like maybe more than $725, like maybe more than $20 an hour because they're literally working their butts off into the middle of the night
Yeah,
to make sure that
that's what
everything's
you
perfect on
think.
the field.
That's what you think. Everyone else who actually is doing the work is okay with what they get paid.
Which is also wild to me because, the gender pay gap is already wide.
This isn't even a gender thing because there's no like.
Well, I didn't see any male cheerleaders on that team. They're not like
Yeah,
stunting and things, but
yeah, because they're actually like dancers. I wouldn't really necessarily even call them cheerleaders.
well, you don't get to decide their name because they are called the Dallas
I understand that, but
Cowboys cheerleaders.
when I think of
the
when I actually
DCC.
think of actual cheerleaders, this is not at all what they're doing. They're like a dance team.
So what if our daughter wanted to be a DCC?
I wouldn't encourage that, to be honest with you.
Would you discourage it?
I would say if you want to be a dancer, I would go through
Well,
other
clearly
routes.
half of them were
Yeah,
professional
I would
dancers or
focus on
danced their
other
whole life.
routes. I would focus on other routes. Also, like, I don't know the going rate of even just like one. I imagine that being a dancer as a professional dancer is hard to begin to do anyways. To
Right.
actually make a livable wage off of being a professional dancer is hard to begin with.
Right.
So like you also have to compare it to the industry itself.
What would be interesting, I wonder, didn't Victoria leave to go be a Rockette at one point? I wonder how much she made as a Rockette in comparison.
She came back, so must not be a ton.
Well, but again, they're not doing it for the money, which again blows my mind. But there must be something about that culture and the energy and the franchise, right? Because even you've said the Dallas Cowboys suck as a team. They are not a winning team.
Yeah, sorry for all you Cowboy fans out here. You guys are not good. When it comes down to it, when it comes to playoff time, you're not good. You haven't been relevant since the mid 90s. Let's just be honest. I'm an Eagles fan. I mean, we've gotten Super Bowl since then, so you guys have more overall, but you haven't been relevant since the mid 90s. Be mad if you want to.
Well, so they're not a winning team. And so yet still these women are like lining up by the hundreds to even get the opportunity to audition. And there must be really something special about the organization. Maybe it's at that level. Maybe it's overall. Again, I'm not going to find out because I'm not a football fan, but the whole thing was just very interesting to me because as a woman who wants to get paid for the work that I do, I find it so interesting that they are practically volunteering 7 days a week, not only for practice and to be perfect and to look a certain way. And I mean, they literally went through the auditions and then, the head choreographer and the leader of the program were like, you would look better as a redhead. You need brown hair. Ooh, we got to change that blonde. What about this? What about that? I mean, they are coming in and being curated for a look, for appearance, for aesthetics. And then on top of that, they are not getting paid a livable wage. That is just mind boggling to me as a working woman who values a paycheck and my time.
Yes. Now, you also need to take into context one, how old are these women?
They were mostly in their early 20s, some of them late teens.
Exactly.
Early 20s.
The growth mindset that you may have, it might not be there at that age. Also, you don't need as much money. So like these women could be like, hey, I want to have a different career. Like you said, they have other jobs. And these are jobs that they can work in and progress in their career and make money.
Yeah.
This is maybe just a hobby.
I mean,
on the side. It's a hobby that they're
feels
getting
like
paid
that.
for. And it's a very short period of their life because you said, like, even if they make the team, they have a maximum of 5 years of being on the team. So like I said, some of these girls are 18, 19 years old. So you get on 18 or 19 and you're done. You're 24 years old,
Yeah. Whole life ahead of you.
It's so like you don't need the same level of income when you're 18, 19, 20, 21 years old. Plus, also, some of these, they're from Dallas. Some of these girls may be living at home.
Well, aside from that, you should, if you're working that hard for a company, a corporation, you should be able to comfortably move out of your home for the amount of work that you're doing.
Once again, this is not a necessity for this organization. So I think a lot of these, I honestly think they thoroughly understand that. Like, if tomorrow they got rid of the cheerleaders for every organization, the NFL will still function as the NFL.
Yeah.
So this is something that's nice to have, and I guarantee you that it does add some revenue, brings in some nice things, and like they do with stuff for the community, which is great. Always giving back, which I saw a lot of. Great, not discounting any of that they do, but the reality is are the cheerleaders a necessity for the NFL to function as it does? No. So therefore, you're gonna only have so much of leverage in order to get paid. Think about it this way: I said you don't watch football, but the most important position on an NFL roster, as is today, is the quarterback, which is why they get paid significantly more than anybody else does. Because if you don't have a good quarterback, you are not going to win. That's just plain and simple. So you have the most leverage out of any employee, basically within that organization, the quarterback, and they're not paying him. What do you think that like none of these? First of all, also like think about just the atmosphere of that. These girls were referring; they had to say yes, ma'am, to the coach.
Well, they are in Texas, so that is just maybe a super Southern thing.
But it's still in a corporation. I'm a grown adult talking to another adult that's not my mom or anything like that. And I have to refer to you as yes, ma'am.
That was very triggering to Brandon for some reason.
Because it's not normal corporate America. You're trying to like equate.
They had a whole episode called Yes, Ma'am.
Yeah, you're trying to equate everything to corporate America, and this is not apples to apples.
Well, I just want women to get paid their worth and what the energy
but you
and
don't
the
know
time
the worth.
that they're bringing.
Time does not equate to worth.
Well, I could see how hard they were working and the hours they were putting in and how desperately they wanted it. And then my other question was, which we didn't really get the answer to, was do they have access to the same facilities that the football players do? I know that they're not allowed to fraternize, which
they don't. I already told you that. They keep them 100% separate.
Which is fine, but like they are athletes in their own right. They are training. They need massages. They need physical therapy. They need their legs wrapped. Like why would they not get even a fraction of what the football team
marry someone who doesn't watch sports and knows nothing about how that world functions?
I mean, but I think my thoughts are logical.
It depends on how you define logical.
I think they make sense for treating people that are bringing something significant to an organization.
You think they're going to treat the cheerleaders the same way they treat the
I didn't say
players?
the same. I'm saying to give them access to even a fraction of.
No,
because they're also going out there and like beating up their bodies. Did you see those jump splits?
I'm not saying they're not, but you also need to live in the world that we live in.
All right.
And like I said, at the end of the day, these women are not complaining. The ones that actually are doing it,
I need them to start complaining.
Well, hey, maybe they're happy with this. Like you were creating,
so bizarre.
You're sometimes you can't get into creating a problem that doesn't exist within the people that are actually doing it.
I know. It frustrates me
that you're comparing your job to their job.
No, I'm frustrated by the fact that even in the documentary, they are such a staple and pillar of the franchise, but they are not being
They over-exaggerated their staple as a pillar.
I don't know. Even think about those legacy, the moms who were DCCs and then the daughters. And this was what they did to help turn the Dallas Cowboys football team into what it is.
No, they didn't turn the Dallas Cowboys football team into what it is. They turned cheerleading into what it is. So they're the most well-known cheerleaders, but this is not the reason that the people watch the Cowboys. No, I'm trying to explain that to you because you don't watch football.
Okay. Well, we are not going to solve this problem on this episode.
Solved because you need to watch football. And one, you need to watch an entire football game and see how often you actually see the cheerleaders on TV.
Yeah, but if you're there in the stadium, you would see them all the time.
That's a small fraction. How big is? We already looked up how big AT&T Stadium is.
Yes, 80,000 people fit there.
Something of that nature, between 65 to 80. But you have millions of people on TV watching, so it's a very small fraction of what's actually the eyes are on the game.
Sure. Fine. We are not going to solve this problem. And if those women are happy and they feel fulfilled and this is the best time in their entire lives, then I am absolutely happy for them. If anybody listening was a NFL cheerleader, please slide in our DMs because we need to talk to you. I have questions that I need answered and I don't want to rely on the internets for them. I would like to talk to a real human. So if you were, even better, if you were a DCC, please slide in my DMs. But also, if you were a cheerleader for any other professional football team and or basketball team, so NFL or NBA, we want to hear from you because I have questions.
Just stick with the football because it's different. It's going to be different.
We can do 2 episodes. reach out. We want to talk to you. I have questions. I'm not going to be picketing for you to make more money if you're not going to picket for yourself. But also, based on what I saw, they absolutely deserve more than what they are being given. And I'm dropping my mic on that.
I'm going to focus on fighting for you to get paid more.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to our completely pointless episode about the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders and our opinions. Talk to you soon.
Sugar Daddy Podcast, yo. Learn how to make them pockets grow.